Yep. I can't tell.
So why did he change the train?
Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. I'm here today representing, I'm going to read a brief statement and then I'll make some additional comments afterwards. I am here today representing Tsuru for Solidarity, a direct action project of Japanese American social justice advocates working to end detention sites and support frontline immigrant and refugee communities that are being targeted by racist, inhumane immigration policies. We stand on the moral authority of Japanese Americans who suffered great injustices in U.S. concentration camps during World War II. We are here today in support of the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services, RACES, the Rapid Defense Network, and ALDEA, the People's Justice Center, who have filed the O.M.G and others versus Wolf case in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, seeking to release all families being held in the family residential centers on an emergency basis due to the imminent risk of a COVID-19 outbreak. All three family detention facilities, Berks, Carnes, and Dilley, have failed to take adequate measures to protect detained families from COVID-19, and there is no justification for risking these families' health and safety. We are appalled by the recently implemented efforts by ICE to bypass requirements of the Flores Settlement and other health and safety requirements by imposing a questionnaire to be signed by detained parents, to be detained indefinitely with their child, or to agree to have their child be separated from them and transferred to a sponsor. Over 78 years ago, 120,000 Japanese Americans were unjustly detained and incarcerated under mass living conditions. We suffered repeated incidences of contagious disease, separation of families, and were forced to sign a double binding questionnaire to determine who might or might not be released. We are shocked and disheartened to hear that our mass incarceration, later deemed a violation of our constitutional and human rights, is being repeated again. We urge Judge James Boasberg, who will be hearing the case today, to affirm the lessons learned from the historic tragedy of the Japanese American mass incarceration experience, and to release all families being held in the family residential centers due to imminent risk of a COVID-19 outbreak. It is the just and humane decision to make. This ends the formal statement. I'd like to make a few more comments. I'd like to emphasize that, above all, that Tsuru for Solidarity wants to emphasize there is absolutely no place for child incarceration. The Japanese American experience with incarceration as a community was that our families were incarcerated unjustly. And today we are doing the same to these immigrant families and children. There is absolutely no place for children to be placed in prison as they are today. The impact of incarcerating children is deep and long-lasting. The other lesson from our experience as a community is that our incarceration experience continues to impact the children, the grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of those who were incarcerated over 70 years ago. The trauma is not only immediate, but it is also impacting further generations beyond the actual incarceration. We also want to emphasize the Flores Settlement remains in effect, and the government has wantonly disregarded this legal requirement that children not be kept in incarceration more than 20 days. Today, over 6,000 children remain incarcerated with their families or as unaccompanied minors. And today, we see the added threat of COVID-19, which continues to not only affect immigrant, but also minority communities disproportionately to the rest of the country. I'd like to finish by talking a little bit about Tsuru for Solidarity. Today, I have over 500 cranes here, just a fraction of the over 213,000 cranes that have been folded by volunteers across this country. Our goal was to fold 125,000 cranes to represent the 125,000 Japanese Americans who were incarcerated during World War II. We've far surpassed that number because of the efforts and the interest of Japanese Americans to uplift our experience, to tell this government that no more should children be incarcerated. unfortunately, we were going to be having an event in June to come to Washington, D.C. to protest the camps and call for their closure. We will be moving that event to a virtual event June 6th and 7th online. I invite you all to go to our website, tsuruforsolidarity.org, tsuruforsolidarity.org, and learn about our efforts to close the camps and to bring justice for these children who are being unjustly held in the camps. Thank you very much, and I'll take some questions if anyone has any. Does anybody have any questions online?
Let's see.
If not, I thank you for joining, and we call upon Justice James Boasberg to end the detention of children today. You have the ability to do that, to force the government to respond to the Flores Settlement and to end child detention in this country. Thank you very much.